Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I'm really excited to show you guys my Strike Ninja deck, and I built this actually last night, and with a 6-0 record, so far it's been undefeated, so it's been really fun to play, and it's been performing pretty nicely, and I'm pretty content with it so far. But it's definitely subject to change, especially the side deck. And also shoutouts to Kyle for running Strike Ninja in the recent GGP Livonia. Yeah, this card is basically a super cool card that I've always been a fan of. I just never really bothered to, build a deck around it because even though its effect can be cool, it can kind of be gimmicky, I guess. But yeah, is it going to be the best deck out there? No, but are you still going to be able to win some matches? Of course. Also, before I proceed with the deck profile, just a really quick question. Do you guys prefer more quick and concise deck profiles, or do you guys prefer, more in-depth explanations, basically behind like the reasoning for various cards and whatnot? And the reason why I'm asking is because sometimes when I'm recording these videos and sometimes when I want to talk about a deck that I'm featuring, I just feel like I just keep on blabbering and blabbering about the deck, and then next thing I know, the video is already like 20 minutes plus, and I haven't even gotten the chance to showcase, a duel. So that would be some very valuable feedback to me because, I'd rather just want to be able to come up with some sort of a middle ground, so that the deck profiles aren't too long or too excessive, and so that I have proper time to, showcase the results of the deck essentially. But for this video, I'm just going to try not to, over-explain things. Basically, when it comes to this deck, I did gather some inspiration from other builds, from Kyle's list, from Nova Ethos. He had like 2 different lists, and various other lists online. And this is, like I said, what I ended up coming up with. I wanted to go the route that's a little bit more defensive. It can still be aggressive, obviously, but I wanted to go with a deck that can maintain some board presence and can basically like do other things without having to rely on Strike Ninja too much. And I decided not to run cards such as Giant Orc, for example, because, I'm just running Zabira instead. I don't think that you really benefit from the extra 100 attack because it's not like it can crash into Goblin attack force. I just simply don't like the fact that it goes to defense. I think that's just the biggest reason why. Yeah, it works better with Return from a Different Dimension over Zambira, but that's about it. Just because Zambira can't attack directly, that doesn't mean that it's still not a valuable card, right? It's just that sometimes it might slow things down a little bit, but it's okay because even if you get in that extra damage, if he goes into defense mode, he's just dead next turn. And if you don't really have monsters, you're just waiting for something, you're kind of screwed. Whereas with Zambira, even if you get to swing in only once, but then your opponent's field is empty and you can't attack, you can't push more aggressively, at least you have a monster on the field. So yeah, but one card that I definitely did want to run, but for some reason, I just ended up not running is Dekoichi. I just really like the spies. I love the tomato package. And I just, like I said, I really like the list as it is currently. And that's why I'm not really running Dekoichi, but I think that this card is also very synergetic. But it would be beneficial having less flip monsters because it makes my opponent's knocks dead in general. But yeah, this card is very good, and I do think it's worth running. But like I said, this list is subject to change, so yeah. And then 2 other monsters, Dark Ruler Hades and Blowback Dragon. I'm not really running these cards simply because of the fact that I'm already running Jinzo and Dimok. And when it comes to tribute monsters that are dark, I just think that Jinzo and Dimok are better. I don't think that it's worth running more than 2 tribute monsters in the deck. At that point, you're just begging to brick. And yeah, Jinzo is like super underrated. I feel like, especially in a deck like this, you would be making a mistake not to run Jinzo. But yeah, the main problem with blowback is its effect just isn't guaranteed, and it doesn't get over Goblin Attack Force or Chaos Sorcerer. Like, if its effect doesn't go through, you might have to like crash into them, or if your opponent summons Goblin Attack Force on their turn, they can just crash into it. Whereas Jinzo doesn't have that problem, and Jinzo synergizes very nicely with Return and Call the Haunted. So, yeah, there's that. But also for Dark Ruler Hades, it basically makes your Call the Haunted and Premature Burial weaker. And yeah, I get it. You can bring it back with Return, but I don't think that's enough to justify running it. If anything, you could maybe side one of these cards, put it in the side deck, but as you can see by my side deck, I haven't done that either. But yeah, like I said, overall, I'm not a fan of running too many tribute monsters. Jinzo plus a Democ are just in the sweet spot, especially with things like Spy and Mystic Tomato and Spirit Reaper. Bringing out Democ instead of just relying on Premature Call and Return from a Different Dimension isn't as bad. Even though the sucky part is you don't really, apart from Tribe, you don't really have many ways to discard Democ. So this card can be questionable, but so far I'm actually super happy with the way it's been performing. So that's why I feel like it's still worth it. But yeah, when it comes to the monster lineup, like I said, I would be open to trying Dekoichi. And I've been trying Spirit Reaper because there's been, this trend in Warriors of main decking a single copy of Spirit Reaper. I just love the added protection. I think it's a really good Mystic Tomato target. And the fact that, it basically makes your opponent Snatch Steal and Brain Control and stuff like that weaker is pretty nice. But a totally valid option over Spirit Reaper is actually Donzalug. It's got better stats overall. You can still summon it off of Mystic Tomato, and on top of that, it's a warrior. So it's searchable with Rhoda, and it still has the hand rip effect. But Spirit Reaper is mostly just a card that I've been testing with. So I would say when it comes to the monster lineup, the 2 cards I'm mostly testing with are Democ and Spirit Reaper. But I do like the Mystic Tomato package. I do like the 3rd Spy, and I do like Double Zambara. So I'll keep it that way for now, but I am open to experimenting with some things. Spell lineup is very standard. I do main deck Mind Control. I think more decks should start main decking this card because Chaos Turbo, it's just such a good card against it. And the fact that I'm main decking Gravekeeper Spy makes it even better. And I like it so much so that I'm side decking the 2nd copy. And then the trap lineup is pretty standard too. The thing is I'm just running a single copy of Return from Different Dimension because I would rather just side the 2nd copy depending on the matchup. If my opponent isn't running too much back row and whatnot, I'd rather side the Sin when I feel like I can really go like full on aggro mode. But otherwise, I think that having just a single copy in the main deck is good enough. Then, of course, I hate back row. So, of course, I'm running a Destronado and Xing Zhenghu. Saku, basically maxing out of my Sakus against the aggro matchups. Single copy of Threatening Roar against, like OTK decks. Kind of random at 1. Not as effective. Probably am going to swap this out with something. Kind of same thing with Deck Devastation Virus. I'm siding it out because it's not really worth main decking it, but that's why I also have, part of the reason why I have Zambara, the 3rd Zambara in the side deck is because of this card. But I also just have it in general because it's good against the aggro matchup. But I would say that this card can be good. Its biggest weakness is the fact that it's just, it's limited to one. So it's an unsearchable trap card. And sometimes you draw it too late. At that point, it's not really doing much. So, yeah, I'm just more so testing this card out more than anything. Token Thanksgiving, huge fan of this card, not just because it works with scapegoat tokens, but it actually works with Ojama tokens. And it's just good against burn as well. Instead of running things like a Sir Priest or King Tiger and whatnot, I'm just running this card. Actually, funny enough, another card you can play around with and test is, let's see, what was it called? A card called Possessed Dark Soul. It's a dark, so it works with Strike Ninja, but not only do you get, well, you don't like destroy or get rid of tokens and stuff, but you actually steal them, and this doesn't just work with tokens, so it's a pretty interesting card, maybe worth exploring. I got the second book against Control List, Morphing Jar, just an overall interesting card to experiment with. The fact that I literally only have a single flip monster, my opponent might see Strike Ninja and Zambira and like just overall aggro cards, and they might side out their knocks. So the two flip monsters that I have are Faith and Morphing Jar. Now that I think about it though, this kind of convinces me even more to just maybe keep Spirit Reaper in the side deck. It would be probably more effective games 2 and 3, and just having Danzalug game 1. Mobius just against burn, probably specifically. Just trap heavy decks in general. But also like decks with floodgates. Just having an extra card for back row removal is pretty decent. And then kind of like a meme card, Karibo. Obviously, you can add it with Sangan, and it's dark, and it works with Strike Ninja, but apart from that, it's probably not worth running. So when it comes to the side deck, the 3 cards I'm most likely to kind of, change or take out. Actually, I like Morphing Jar. I want to test this even more. It's probably going to be these ones. Threatening Roar, Deck Devastation Virus, and Karibo. The rest of the side deck cards I'm definitely a fan of. So without further ado, let's just take a really quick match, and I should actually hurry because my laptop's percentage is only at 8% at the moment. But I was basically playing against Chaos Control, and here I just decide to T-set. I like setting Spy turn 1 oftentimes because if my opponent does have knock, like in this case, my opponent also gets rid of his spies, which is pretty good for me. I don't have to worry about that. Basically, don't have to worry about spy anymore. My opponent just decides to torrential here. Very, very weird. Again, like I said, actually, I don't think I mentioned that, but yeah, my opponent's not always the best players, or they don't always make the optimal plays. So that kind of explains why I'm like 6-0 so far with this deck. But the deck is still decent. I don't think that should necessarily fully undermine it. So yeah, my opponent draws Pot of Greed, sets a couple stuff. I use knock of my own. So now I don't have to worry about Faith or Spy for the rest of the duel, which is pretty good. And here I just say, screw it. I'm just going to go attack with Zambira. He gets rid of it. And, excuse me, I just set my Jar of Greed. So here I'm just playing very slowly, honestly. Like, I feel like my opponent's just not really playing very aggressively. But here, I did draw the tomato. He just rings it. But yeah, this was kind of like a slow duel. So my opponent's trying to push here. Man, my battery percentage is really getting low. And my charger's like in the other room, so... yeah, I activate my Jar of Greeds. Just, I'm just basically trying to get my combo pieces and stuff. Thankfully, my opponent destroyed my Mirror Force, instead of my return from a different dimension. And with Delinquent Duel, he actually ended up hitting my Heavy Storm, which I thought was a really big shame because my idea was to activate Heavy and chain return from a different dimension. But my opponent is basically doing the same thing. But he doesn't even set the Mirror Force. But either way, honestly, it didn't matter because I would have just MST'd it. But if my opponent did decide to, you know, like set maybe a knock or mind control, you know, to like, especially the fact that he saw Heavy Storm is gone, he could have definitely, you know, baited me pretty hard, but he didn't, thankfully. So here I just activate the Graceful. And on top of that, I draw Strike Ninja, which is absolutely amazing. Here I use Strike Ninja's effect, and I just bring back a monster just so I can get rid of that Night Assailant so I don't have to worry about it. And here I just use Return from Different Dimension to just swing in for game. Definitely a misplay on my opponent's part, but I probably still would have gone for it, especially the fact that I ended up drawing Jinzo. I don't think I'd really have to worry about back row too hard. So my opponent opens up really good, actually. He opens up double Pot of Greed. I'm saying double Pot of Greed. He opens up Pot of Greed and Thunder Dragon, two very good cards. On top of that, he has Sinister Serpent. He sets Ring and Raigeki Break. What do? I just go with Sangan because I don't really care about my opponent's back row. He destroys my Dust. He's pushing in with that Breaker. Next turn, I do something interesting. I just use the Mind Control actually on my Breaker, on my opponent's Breaker. The reason why I do this is because I still have a knock in case my opponent has a flip. I just want to get rid of my opponent's the Breaker's effect so that I can just set comfortably and to weaken his Breaker and to potentially destroy a card of his own, which I did. So he just attacks into the Spy. I'm feeling pretty good. He ends up using Snatch to tribute it up for Thunder Dragon, but yeah, here I get Strike Ninja because I saw that I have two Darks in the graveyard. So even if my opponent has some bullshit, I could just use his effect. And he does, and I use his effect. And then I bring him back. Next up, my opponent brings out Tribe to destroy him. But not necessarily the Spy. I probably would have just chained Book of Moon there. Take my opponent's Tribe, get rid of Thunder Dragon, crash into the Breaker. And my opponent decides to finally go for Thousand Eyes Restrict because he's able to activate his Scapegoats. Tries to steal my Spy, but that's not going to work. Sets the Faith. Thankfully, I had the second knock. Get rid of his Faith. Get rid of his Thousand Eyes and a token. Set the call. He draws into another Scapegoat. Very unfortunate. Here, I'm just obviously going to keep the Breaker just in case. He sets Scapegoat, or he activates Scapegoat. I don't know why. He should have just waited. Maybe he was hoping to draw something. But yeah, here he can't really do much. And I just activate Pot. Activate Breaker's effect. Swing, and I have Call, I have Book, I have a bunch of monsters on the field. I mean, I'm feeling pretty safe here. My opponent only has a Tsukuyomi that doesn't really do much. And yeah, he basically just top decks Nobleman. So that was just one of the matches. Honestly, I wanted to show another match, but like my battery's only at 5%, so I'll just leave that for another time. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the list. Please let me know what you think about the deck in the comments. In the description below, I'm going to add a link to the deck. And yeah, that's basically it for this video. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.